I am your host, Josh Reese, Mr. Joshua, as you can find me on Twitter. The Eighth Wonder Podcast is a podcast that talks about the Houston Astros. It is a sport here in Houston that is grossly and vastly underserved, so I hope you will find this podcast lovely, and I hope you will tell your friends about it. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell one person about the Eighth Wonder Podcast and what I am trying to do here and trying to make the Astros, make them more of a talked about team here in our sports community here in Houston. They're very underserved. But anyways, you can find the podcast on iTunes. Just type in the Eighth Wonder Podcast. And you'll see the logo up there. Feel free to download that. Hit subscribe and hit like. Make sure to rate us very well. Give us a comment. Let us know what you're thinking about the podcast. You can also find my Astros blog on hamiltonway.blogspot.com. I've got a bunch of Astros stuff up there. And this week I'll have a few more Astros things up there as well. So I appreciate you guys for giving this a listen. So today we'll go ahead and bounce on in into the news of the week. It's the first time we've talked since the Patriots won the Super Bowl. So I guess I should say congrats to the Patriots for winning the Super Bowl. Regardless how you feel, Houston did host a Super Bowl. And the Astros are one of the best teams, potentially one of the best teams in the major leagues this season. So chances are Houston not only could host a Super Bowl this year, but hey, they could also host a major league championship game between the Chicago Cubs and the Houston Astros. Who knows? Maybe in the American League Championship World Series game the Astros could host, excuse me. But maybe during like the American League Championship Series, it could be like the Astros versus Boston. And it'll be that whole Texans versus Patriots thing again. Except this time, hopefully the Astros will go over the Patriots or the Red Sox. Because, there always seems to be a rivalry between Houston, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Houston, some other random Texas city. But you know what? I think there's starting to be a little bit of a rivalry between Houston and Boston. Because it seems like, at least on the football side, the Texans are a little bit of Patriots South. So they got a little bit of that rivalry right there. But also, during the baseball season, if the Astros can be as competitive as we think they are going to be this year, the Boston Red Sox are also loaded this year. So they're going to be right there with the Astros. And a playoff series with the Red Sox would be amazing and kind of drum up those feelings. And it could get people into a Boston-Houston rivalry. I think that is where Houston is starting to trend. No more of these silly rivalries with San Antonio or Dallas. The real rivalry is with those damn Boston people with those weird accents. Accents. People in Texas don't have no weird accents, but people from Boston do. So I'm starting it right here. A little bit of a rivalry between Houston and Boston. So yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool this year to see if that does indeed happen. The Astros do make it that far, and if the Astros and the Red Sox turn out to be as good as people think they are going to be, we could see this becoming a rivalry. So I'm all aboard the Boston Red Sox, Houston Astros, or just the Houston and Boston rivalry. Choo choo. No rivalry between the Celtics and the Rockets, that's for sure. But on the football side and the baseball side, there sure could be a rivalry. Okay, so enough about rivalry. We got to talk about the news. The news of the week is the Astros avoided arbitration and agreed to a 2-year deal with reliever Will Harris. So he'll be around for 2 seasons. I also saw that apparently he was ranked in the top 10 of relievers this season, of relief pitchers. I think MLB Network did that or something like that. And the Astros are getting Will Harris, and he's not really that expensive. I believe he's getting $5 million over the next couple seasons, and not a year. So it's like $2 million, $2.5 million a season. So kudos to Will Harris. I think he's an underused, underserved Astros player here, and I kind of feel like him having the closer's role last year kind of screwed with him because he was amazing as an eighth inning guy, and hopefully he can get back to that this year, whoever he's closing for. But we'll get to that on Friday when we talk about the relievers. But today it's all about the starting pitchers, so we're not going to dig too deep into Will Harris, but I just wanted to share that he did avoid arbitration, and he is going to come back to the Houston Astros. They agreed to a 2-year contract, so kudos. Will Harris is going to be around for 2 more seasons. Thumbs up. Other Astros news. I saw this, and it's not so much news, but I thought it was kind of cool knowing. But apparently, I guess Astros skipper AJ Hinch was on a Dallas radio station. Let me see if I can get the Dallas. He was on G-Bag Nation, which is a very interesting name for a radio show. G-Bag Nation on 105.3 The Fan. And one of the quotes that I saw from him I thought was kind of funny. So they asked him about the near fight that Jeff Bannister and AJ Hinch almost had in 2015. And this is what AJ had to say about it. So this is all quoted, so I'm not gonna keep on mentioning it. So here. The funny part about it is Banny and I are very close. We text often. We catch up on the phone sometimes. We end up exercising at the same time during road and home games. So we have a great relationship. And then something happens about 7 o'clock, and both of us turn into these kind of animals where we don't like each other very much. In 2015, it was kind of funny. I don't know which I preferred. I was either going to have to battle Prince Fielder or battle Jeff Bannister. I got caught in the middle of both of them. That might have been a bad decision. I had just spent the week with Prince at the All-Star game in Cincinnati. We go from being the best of buds on the bench, sitting there reliving the game to go sitting there reliving the game to I got a hold of Prince. Bannister got a hold of me. I end up elbowing my way out of the scenario. Steve Buechele, their bench coach, was a Stanford guy. So we're all in the mix like one big family. You can count on about 19 times where Banny and I are not the best of buds in a 3-hour increment. So it drove me nuts because like my profile picture on my Facebook page for so long was or on my Twitter page for so long was that whole scrum in 2015. And when that happened, I didn't think that it was all going to go to blows and they were going to get in a fight or anything. But I thought it was kind of funny. I thought it was kind of funny seeing all the benches pour out. And it's like, if one throw happens, then it's all going to go down. Because there was probably 50 or 60 people in the middle of all that stuff. But so I just thought it was kind of funny. Jeff Luhnow, AJ Hinch talking about that. It didn't seem like it was going to be anywhere close to a fight. But had it went down, I wonder who he would have picked. If he would have fought Jeff Bannister or tried to fight Prince Fielder. Something tells me you fight Jeff Bannister. You don't fight Prince Fielder. A younger, scrappier guy. Yeah. You fight Jeff Bannister. So another bit of news. I saw apparently Awful Announcing tweeted out another story. Apparently Rob Manfred says that there are going to be in-stream in-stream deals to stream games during the Major League Baseball season for all but 3 baseball teams, and the Houston Astros are not one of them. So apparently next year you will be able to live stream Houston Astros game on, I'm assuming like through the Root Sports page. I couldn't get a clear view of like exactly how you could do it, but it does seem like they are trending that way where you could do something like that. Maybe eventually we'll see, live stream games on Twitter like we did during the football season this past year. So I just thought that was interesting. I don't know how exactly it's going to work, but apparently they will do it this year. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm all for watching Astros games in the different ways you can, because sometimes I'm not exactly a great big fan of the on air talent on the actual broadcast side on TV. Although I guess that would be the same thing if I was watching it online. I guess it would be the same feed. It would just be on the internet. But on that way, I could listen to some music while I'm watching an Astros game or something like that. It'd be a little bit easier to do. But I'm all for this concept. I hope we find it, and we're able to use it pretty well this upcoming season. So this last bit of Houston Astros news, and it's not really like groundbreaking news. I think everyone knows this. I don't know if they know the exact dates, but with the Super Bowl being played last night, that officially marks the beginning of baseball season, pretty much. The Astros on Monday, I'm taping this Monday, the Astros Monday loaded up their big old 18-wheeler full of exercise equipment, rosin bags, baseballs. They're filling up that truck, and they're about to take that bad boy on over to Florida. Apparently, I think we're about 8-9 days away from pitchers and catchers being able to report to camp. The first spring training game is about 19 days away, and we're about 50 days away from opening day against the Seattle Mariners. So I thought that was kind of interesting. We are getting super duper close to the baseball season finally upon us. Yay! So that's pretty cool. This upcoming week, tomorrow, I'll be speaking with Jeff Luno and AJ Hinch. So we should have a lot more news and stuff to talk about on Friday's podcast. And I should have some more stories up on HamiltonWay.blogspot.com.